Hey, everybody. Welcome to This Week in WordPress. I am BJ, and I'm your host from Elegant Themes, and I have put together all of the absolute best news, tutorials, and resources that were published this week in WordPress. So feel free to chime in the comments, and let's get started. All right, so I see people are already in the comments. Welcome everybody. Hopefully, we'll still keep getting a lot of people coming through. I'm seeing quite a bit of comments right now, actually. So for those of you who have never been a part of this before, every week at 3 o'clock Eastern on every Friday, rather, we get together and we talk about stuff that's come out in WordPress. All of the if there's any kind of big news, if there are any tutorials that just seem kind of fun, or honestly just cool WordPress stuff that we want to talk about, or internet culture in general. So feel free to throw anything in the comments that you've got going on, that you want to share, any questions you have. We have a fantastic community that's come up and talking around and talks to everyone in the comments. So we've solved a bunch of problems over the months here. So let's get started. Happy Friday to everybody. I see there's a lot of happy Fridays going on. Matthew on YouTube says that he's in a meeting, so I'm going to do my very best to be as loud and as annoying as possible just for you. I wish I had some sort of special effects that I could do, or really awful sound effects that I could use, but I'll do what I can. So for the rest of you, hi Rick, hi Houston, Texas with Unforced, hi Joan on Facebook. I do my best, you guys who aren't normally here, who don't know, to try to talk to the commenters, interact a lot, and because you can't see both streams of comments depending on which platform you're on, I try to mention whether or not the questions or comments come from YouTube or Facebook. Man, my my mouth doesn't seem to be working right today. So I want to move on onto the news to get started. And this week was kind of it's a slow burn, a slow week before we're getting into the Gutenberg stuff. So that's a good thing. Right now, we're moving forward. We're getting a lot of stuff solved and fixed as we move forward. So the main thing that I wanted to talk about this week in the news was that there was a new WordPress release. There was a new security release that came out. So you can check out. It's actually the third link under the news section in the description. So if any of you guys or want to check out any of the links that I talk about today, just make sure you check out the description of this video and click on that and give a lot of people the love for putting this stuff together. So speaking of the love for putting it together, like I said, there's a new WordPress 4.9.5. I'd mentioned that last week, I believe, and it may have been the week before. I can't remember which week it was, but that it was coming out soon, and that this was initially going to be a Gutenberg-centric episode or update, where they're going to be pushing an idea of try this. There was going to be a banner across dashboards to get people to try Gutenberg. That did not make it, like they said probably wouldn't last time. And instead, this is just a security and maintenance release. I say just in the best way possible for us. That this is not something that should make or break your site. I think everybody, I started having some SiteGround sites get pushed automatically to this, which doesn't happen very often. And so I'm wondering if this is something, if there's something that I'm not fully aware of in this one that it has to fix that's very important. The number one thing in the patch notes that I saw that a lot of you guys should pay attention to is the increased support for PHP 7.2. If you haven't noticed a pattern as everything starts supporting PHP 7.2, there's a pattern because everything is supporting PHP 7.2. Just pay attention to it. That's kind of what 4.9.5 was about, just fixes like that. In 4.9.6, there will be a banner trying to get you to try or read the documentation about WordPress. It is technically WordPress, about Gutenberg. So if you have any clients who update to 4.9.6, just be aware you might get some questions about the banner that's coming up. So prep now to see to make sure that they are aware of what that is. Because Chris Lima, there's a discussion on, maybe it's on WordPress WP Tavern, talking about how Chris Lima did an updated banner for that to try to call more attention to the documentation and explanation part of the plugin. So I think I have. Yep, I had a dog hair on my mouth. So that's what 4.9.5 really was. I see some comments coming through. Matthew and Uncle Social do not like Facebook, apparently. Hello, Argentina. And this is a complicated question. You have the contact module, which is part of Divi, and it's great. Are there any ways to specify the from email once it's sent? I would like the person who is filling out the contact form, it replies back to the person. I haven't had that. No, I have not actually. Hold on, I'm going to go into Gmail, Rick. That was a question on YouTube on whether or not the contact form in Divi lets you set a reply to address so you can reply to the person who sent the email. And what I'm doing actually is I have a contact form from the Divi form in my email, and I will just hit reply and see what comes up, Rick, because I know that I haven't set anything about that. So where is the newest one that I saw? Oh my goodness. And I can't find it now. Of course, I just typed in, nope. Well, that's fun. We'll see if that comes up. But anyway, I'll move forward. And no, Uncle Social, I did not eat my dog. She is a long-haired golden mix. So we just have hair kind of floating around everywhere, and it gets attached to me. See, like this. I really do. It's just right there. So I've got the one that's it's sent from mail@bjkeaton.com. And so when I hit reply, it actually does send it to the email that they put in terms of this one, at least. I haven't had to put in the percentage email or anything. The only thing that I did was put the contact form in Divi. I'm not entirely sure if that will be the same in all of the messages that get sent, Rick, but it actually automatically has a reply to set on there, because I opened it up in Gmail and it has from and then their name and then mail@bjkeaton.com, and then a reply to has their name in slants and then their email address. So you might test that out on your particular installation, because that was just the straight up Divi contact form that I have at the very bottom of my page. I did nothing to customize it, including the percent email tags. So the magic tags did not go in on mine. So it did automatically reply to. So apparently it applies it. Check that out if you other guys other ladies have had that happen. So, it will just reply. Oh, it will just reply from Gmail. It won't reply from web hosting, according to Joan on Facebook. So that's a support question then, Rick. If it doesn't work for you the way that it did for me, that would be hitting up the support forums and just finding out, or hitting one of the Facebook groups about that. That could also be. And Joan also had a wonderful reply and said that SiteGround did automatic updates on all of her sites as well. Said that they think she thinks that she thinks that they want everyone to be updated, which is completely fair given how this was a security and maintenance release. So, I will. So yeah, sorry about that, and you're welcome. I don't know which one to say about the email thing, Rick, but hopefully check that out and let me know what happens to you too, because I would like to know. I like knowing if it's a specific instance of it on mine because I use Gmail to go through it, or if it works for you with a different setup. So just very quickly, the middle one under news is that Jetpack 6.0 is taking steps toward the GDPR compliance. So this is it's a first step. They're giving you documentation and the ability to opt out of having your information sent to to WordPress to Automatic. Now, the reason that I thought this was newsworthy and I wanted to bring up is that there's a couple of comments in the WP Tavern article about this where they talk about GDPR not being an opt-out, but that you must have a specific opt-in, that there is not that in Jetpack yet. So this is a step toward GDPR compliance, but for those of you who are moving forward, trying to get everything set up, then you might want to make sure that you don't have an opt-out, but rather an opt-in that people can specifically use. So I wanted to bring that up immediately to make sure that everybody was able to take that to heart and figure out what Jetpack is doing, because I mean we're all concerned with our data at this point, and I know a lot of us do not want to hashtag delete Jetpack, so you can opt out of that now. Oh, excuse me, my mouth still gets so crazy dry. And the last piece of news that I had, that like I said, this was a fairly slow week, but I'm really excited about this one, is that they are talking at WordCamp Central, WordCamps being the overall WordPress, the WordPress conferences that we do all over the world, that the WordCamp Central is thinking about doing a WordCamp for WordCamp organizers, which I think is magnificent. Having been on an organization team for a couple of years now, this will be my second year, that it takes a lot to put together a WordCamp, and there's a lot of community there that we want to really talk. We want to tell each other. We help each other out a lot. So a WordCamp for organizers sounds fantastic to me. So if you're organizing any kind of WordCamp, if you have ever been involved, if you've attended a WordCamp even, or have event management, if you just want to get involved, they're looking for volunteers. There's a link like I said, in the description of the video to talk about that. And I think it's fantastic. Like, I really think this is a good way and to get involved in the community, because not everybody is a designer or a developer, but there's a whole lot of us who are people and want to be able to interact with that community. That said, that reminded me, actually, I wanted to remind you that we are trying to expand our Divi Nation meetups. So if you look at the Divi Nation on meetup.com, we are putting out feelers to try to see if people want to really start Divi meetups in their area or join Divi meetups in their area. So Nathan is handling that. There's a post on the blog about it. All you have to do is type in meetup and it will come up, or Divi Nation and that will also come up, or type in Divi Nation on meetup.com. So that's a community we're trying to build and expand as well. It's not WordCamp. It's not even anywhere near associated with that, but it's us. It's those of us who are involved in this community, and we really want to build that and foster it for all of you guys. There are a couple of comments forcing Facebook to get together in regards to user data. GDPR is rather, and it is the power of the European Union. There are rumors. And now here's what I was thinking about a second ago. There are rumors that Facebook would only apply it to EU countries, but apparently they're going worldwide with the new GDPR prompted user data options. And I had heard something today, and I don't know how old it was, Uncle, that Facebook is not going to be applying any of the privacy stuff, like for GDPR specific opt-ins on US sites. I'm not sure if that how new that is, but when I ran across it, it was 10 minutes before I got on here, so I wasn't able to like look at it and dig deep. But something that's really weird to think about, so that they would be applying the opt-ins elsewhere but not America, even though it's not EU. Everything is really strange with GDPR right now, so we'll just see what happens with all of that. So for those of you who are just joining us, this is the This Week in WordPress stream, and I just finished up the news section. So you can always go back and start the first few minutes of this stream, watch all of that, see where we are once we're done with this, because it will be archived on YouTube and on Facebook. And I'm moving into our tutorial section now. This is really one of my favorite parts of the entire show. This is where people really start talking. This is where we start getting questions and really discuss discussing what's going on in WordPress on a day-to-day basis with all of you guys. So I wanted to look at the very first article here. Look at the first article under tutorials, and it was a Robert DeVore article about setting featured images programmatically, that you're running a script to be able to apply a featured image, a thumbnail image, to all WooCommerce products that don't have a product image already. So that was a lot of words from my mouth. So what I read through this, it was really interesting. This is like when you have a client site that would have over 100, 300 products that needed to be updated, and he wrote a bit of PHP code so that it would, whenever it would pull the content, it would check and then apply an image. Well, it turns out in the comments that, and this is what I thought was really great, that for those of you who don't like messing with your PHP, if you're not comfortable with that, someone in the comments actually mentioned that there is a plugin called Easy Add Thumbnail. There's a link to it in the comment of this article that does that lets you go through and add plugins or adds thumbnail images. Man, I'm getting out of my head today. The Easy Add Thumbnail plugin lets you add images and thumbnails to other posts. It will check for old published posts and only show them. It does a lot of stuff. So it's awesome. And I was really happy to see that there are plugins like this so that whenever you're doing stuff like that you forget, it gets applied automatically. I might have done that last week and sent out an article, not an ET article, one of my personal ones, without a featured image, and it kind of looked funky because the block in the theme was empty instead of just not being filled. So I realized very quickly that I did that, and because it's easy to do. So always having a placeholder, being able to have it go in is nice. So that plugin was really cool, and you can see the PHP that will fix the WooCommerce ones so that you can really see what goes on in fixing that. If you're trying to learn PHP, you're trying to figure out how all of this stuff interacts with one another. I adore it when developers publish the code on their websites for us to be able to go see on a topic by topic basis. And I mean, I think he posted it through GitHub. He embedded the GitHub there. I'm going to have to actually go back and see because I'm just curious at this point what it was. Yeah, it was a GitHub embed, but I love it when I can do this where I can just copy and paste it and then see the code and break it down. So, excuse me. Next up, I thought that there was a really, really cool article that Torque did. It's the third one down. That's a beginner's guide to content situation. My goodness, the content situation. It is the beginner's guide to content syndication, where I was doing an article a while back and working on an article on canonical URLs, and it really got me thinking about content syndication and how Google says they punish and penalize for repeated content, for duplicate content, but then they've also said that they only index one copy of each piece of content, and it's the one with a more domain authority, and there's a lot of nuance in how Google does this. So I love the idea of content syndication, where you publish something and then you give permission for it to be published elsewhere, or you have a website that needs content, so you are grabbing content from other places and publishing it because it's been syndicated. So I think that the ability to look through and learn about content syndication when you want to is something we should all have, because it's not something for everybody, but there are sites where this matters. I mean, like if you're a web design company and there are free newsletters in your field, there's stuff like that you can do, stuff that's pushed out for free that they want you to share. And they go through the entire process of crediting the authors and getting permission. I mean, if you're posting it without the idea, without the permission of who it is, that's content scraping, and that's real bad, y'all. It's really bad. So you will want to make sure you get permission and all that kind of stuff. You need to check that the media assets are licensed, because if you syndicate something that and you pull an image in there that's you're not licensed to use, that's actually what happened to Google and Getty Images. If you've noticed lately that you can't click on Google Images to go directly to the image anymore, that there's no view image button, it's because Google was syndicating copyrighted images in their feed that other people had to pay for, like in the image search. So they had a settlement with Getty being able to pay out and still syndicate stuff through Google image search, but they weren't able to isolate just that image. You had to go directly to the page that actually held the image and had the license to use it. So it was interesting for me to actually start thinking about this in terms of content syndication as well, because you don't have access. Let's say that you were to decide that you just wanted to syndicate the Elegant Themes blog. Don't do that. We use, if you look at the bottom of our post, a lot of times it will say article featured image by so-and-so shutterstock.com, and we will pull some stock images from Shutterstock, but those are licensed to us. That's not something that your site would be licensed to, so both the artist and the distributor of Shutterstock would be able to actually cause quite a bit of trouble for you if they wanted to, if they found it. And some places are really big on their content and their images not getting yanked and used around. So yanked around and used. So check that out. And one of the other things about this one that I thought was interesting is it has many plugins on here that you can look at to do different kinds of content sharing. You can syndicate from feeds. You can input whatever content you want. It's just neat to look at. So take a gander at that and figure out if content syndication is something that either you or your clients may be able to use on their websites. I have a couple of comments on YouTube here. Tested it. It works. Rick says that the email reply with the Divi contact form works with the Zoho email service. However, his idea was to use the contact form to go directly to a ticket support system. With a support system, it shows at mailer. Oh, now that's probably a support question, Rick. Now that one, being able to get it to tie in with an autoresponder and a support system, maybe like HubSpot or something along those lines, or a Asana maybe, would show the mailer. Yeah, that's a support question. Are you able to change the subject line instead of new message from? Could it be the magic tag of subject? I haven't figured it out. I am almost certain there is a way to do that, Rick, and it's probably in the module settings if I had to guess, but I haven't looked enough to do it. I will actually I will load one up and see. But I think that's where it is. If I remember right, that I found it in there before, but I know mine just still has the new message from, and it's always weird that I see it. It says new message from BJ Keaton, and I'm like, what? And then I remember that it is my contact form. So, oh, sorry, I was reading the comment. It's WP support using that one. Send a support message. Yeah, that that's what I would suggest. I'm not sure about tying it in on that one. So yeah, that may actually be something that their plugin could handle with the tie-ins on how to get a reply like that too. And if not, make sure that you check the Elegant Themes forums and put a support ticket in so that they can maybe tell you how to do that. So I'm looking in the email thing. There's an email redirect, text. What is it? Wait, email? If I can hit the question mark button. That's where they should be sent. Message pattern. Okay. Here you can define the pattern for the email message. Field should be included with the %% field ID. For example, if you want to include the field ID phone and ID, then you can do that. Okay, it's not where I thought it was. And is there a subject when I do that? I'm playing. Now, there might be, if you add under the content, if you go into the Divi, let me think. If you go into the Divi contact form module and you click on the plus and you add a new field to it, you can go in there and you might be able to add where the field ID says you could do a %% subject, %%, and then call it subject maybe. Field options require, and make it a required field. And I'm not sure if that would change the email subject or not. I'm going to send one to myself and see. Oh no, I need to check mark and save. I'm doing, this is great for you guys, but hopefully y'all will know by the end of this if this works. It will not let me type into it. I have to exit the Visual Builder and save and exit. And I'll come back to doing that. So, because I really do want to try that. That's a real booger, as I always say, Rick. That was fun. I also think that I might have just deleted my contact form on there, Rick. So forgive me. I don't think I'm going to be able to do this while I'm live streaming, because I literally have no idea what I just did to break my. I have no idea what I did to break my contact form on there. I'm gonna have to put in a new one. I really have no clue what's going on right now. So I will, man, I really don't know. That's crazy. I didn't even know that Divi had that. Maybe I do not understand what I did. Like, I'm looking at this right now and I'm just seeing, and it's like, nah, it's just. Oh, see, I already saved it. That was the problem. I'd already Command-Z'd it and exited the thing, so I will have to just see what I can do. Anyway, I will move forward. I will fix that later. That is not something that is terribly important right now. So anyway, content syndication's cool. The Divi content, man, I want to call it the content form. The contact form apparently does not do that. The Elegant Themes member area can do, or the WP support may have had to deal with that before. So, further into the tutorials, I wanted to point out the WP Shout article on how to disable file editing in the admin area. This is something that that you guys have actually mentioned before when we were talking about the new 4.9 editions and code editing, and that you don't want your clients touching this stuff. WP Shout has a way for you to fix it. So you look at that. It's a step-by-step guide to disallowing file editing, where you don't have to, man, my mouth, y'all. You go into WP config, which is a PHP file, and you can put in a snippet of PHP that is just define disallow file edit true, and then end it and save the file, and it will not work. You won't even see the editor anymore. So that's something that you guys can do, where no matter what user role they have, you can completely remove the ability to do it from everybody, not even giving, because a lot of them will have the user, their main user being an admin, and they can do it, but then you don't want editors to do it, but you can remove it from everybody, because sometimes even the people you give admin permissions to do not need to be touching the PHP. So most of the time, they don't need to be touching the PHP. Most of the time, we don't need to be touching the PHP, I think. So at least I don't. So check that one out. It's really cool. That is really important. That's something that they can really, really, really mess up their sites with. And Michael Dennison, why are they still building plugins that don't work with the Visual Builder? What do you mean? That one actually does. I use that one a lot with the Visual Builder. That one is user error because I was hurrying up and I grayed it out somehow, and I haven't figured out how I grayed it out. So we'll see. And no, Rick, I did not reboot my computer. I there was that half second of seeing that. I'm like, oh yeah, that's what I should do. And then I realized what I was doing, and that's a bad idea. So yeah. The next thing I really thought was cool was go down to the next to last article in the tutorials. It's how to use FOMO. I love this. How to use FOMO on your WordPress site to increase conversions. I think that this is something that we have all both fallen into and should take advantage of. That the fear of missing out, which is what FOMO is something that's really real, and it's used in marketing constantly, especially in web marketing. And there are two ways to do this. There's the right way to do it, and then there is the really shady way of doing it. So what I like about this article is that they give you the good ways to do it. That they talk about that WP Beginner goes through the idea of using social proof that there is a good idea that can be bought and purchased here, that it's a good idea to buy this product, that there's a good product here. And one of the things they talk about is just in the lower left corner, that there is a plugin called Proven that tells you when the last purchase was made of this product. That the example they use in the image on the site just says, Jeff purchased this plugin, purchased Create just now. Stuff like that is really powerful, actually, because you see that it's not just a dead site, that people are actually buying this product as you're browsing. Those kind of things really do help conversions. It was funny because a little bit lower in the notes down here, I have an article that Freemius plugin posted, where they now allow you to use them for memberships and a couple of other things. And I'll talk about that. But when I went to their website today, it was after I'd looked at this FOMO one, and when I went to their main website, they had a so-and-so plugin just updated to sell, or just sold a $9.99 monthly membership using Freemius. And that was an immediate thing that I thought back to this FOMO article, because it made me immediately have that reaction of, oh yeah, people do that. And I'm glad that somebody got that and that they sold something. And it's like, maybe I need to have something that sells. It's like, I'm not a plugin developer, y'all. I don't have anything to sell, but it still made me think, it's like, maybe I should have a subscription to sell. So there's social proof like that, proving that you're there. That people are buying that product from you. The other one is a countdown timer. Okay, so here's where it can get shady. Countdown timers for sales are awesome. If you are having a limited time sale and you want people to know that it's limited time, there is nothing better than showing a countdown to when that sale is over. We did it for the 10-year anniversary of Elegant Themes. We had it go where you would see day by day, it would tick down how long you had to be able to get that 20% off. That's great. I think that works. I think that works wonderfully because it creates a sense of urgency that's real. Because if you don't buy within this week, then you're not going to get this deal. I have fallen for that. And I say fallen for that in that it's like, this, I've been wanting this, and why not right now? I'm not going to be able to get it next week if I wait. That happens, and that's legitimate marketing. What you don't want to do for the fear of missing out is lie about it. This is something that drives me batty, you guys, that when I go to a website and it tells me that I get a 15% discount on it. Cool, that's great. I'm like, great, hey, thanks, guy. But it says I only have it for the next 30 minutes. And so I'm like, oh man, I don't know if I'm going to buy that in 30 minutes, but I appreciate that. And so I look around, and then I leave and I go back, and 10 minutes later, it's like, you get this 15% off. It ends in 30 minutes. Or if it's even less than that, it's like, it ends in 3 minutes. And I've had something to do in 3 minutes. It's like, oh, sorry, your time's over. I refresh the page and it does it again, where it is not a legitimate sale. It's just a coupon that they're giving out. It is false fear of missing out. And to me, that's really shady. I really, really, truly hate it. And so that's one of the things that they're talking about on here using Opt-in Monster to actually just have a countdown to when the sale ends. That you can also track conversions and stuff like that for how those sales go. And I really think that that's something that you should really take advantage of. Kind of like we were talking last week about the 404 pages, to put a coupon on those. These are ways to increase conversions in ways that your users may not take advantage of normally. Specifically, the one that shows when people bought the product last. That even if it shows that they were buying the product 3 days ago, it doesn't matter. It's showing that it's still selling and that you're still there and that you're still moving forward with your product. So I really, really think think that's a way to do it. And I see in the comments just popped up, and am I saying that it's faux FOMO? I actually almost did that, and I stopped myself. If you noticed, it was a false FOMO, where that's what I was thinking, faux FOMO. And so I thank you for saying what I think. So I see there's a question on YouTube here about what's the best website to buy professional themes and plugins except ThemeForest, and there's a really good answer with Divi Cake, Divi Soup, A Girl and Her Mac. There's Envato stuff for plugins, but if you're Divi specific, then those are kind of the ones that I go to. There's joshhall.co. Oh goodness, what does Craig do? Craig Longmuir has one that he does really good stuff. I can't think of the website off the top of my head. Maybe it's craiglongmuir.com. Aspen Grove does really good stuff. There are quite a few of the Divi sites out there, and Elegant Marketplace I think has some, where if you're looking for Divi specific ones. In terms of just professional themes in general, I do suggest Divi because I love it. Like I've said before, I used it before I worked here. And I also, a lot of people are also looking at things like Genesis and, oh goodness, I can't remember the other one that's on the tip of my tongue. But I like Divi. I really, really do. The one I used before this was Ultimatum, was actually what I used before I moved into Divi for my personal side projects. It was freelancing then. I say personal side projects now, but that's when I had moved. So I see a question. What would you advise is the best booking plugin for a website, like a website proposing tours and excursions? WooCommerce Booking. Tried WooCommerce Bookings, but I'm not happy with it. Moon, I really think you should look into either. I used one called Bookly, Bookly, or the Event Calendar. I think there's also the plugin for it called like the Event Planner, but I think it's the Event Calendar, or maybe it's the Event Planner. I'm just Googling it. The Events Calendar. It's a WordPress plugin on the repo you can try initially for free. It's probably the best of them. Once you get into the premium stuff, it's really good. I've also looked at stuff called VSETA. I did an article on it last year of setting up schedules and things like that. I'm not sure if it does necessarily what you're wanting to do, because it's kind of like a meeting scheduler, but that might be something that you could use it for. I'm going to type it into the comments here. The three that I mentioned: Bookly, VSETA, and the Events Calendar. Those are the ones that I have used. Put it in Facebook as well there, where I like those. The absolute first freelance site that I ever did that let me transition into freelancing let me use Bookly. That was what I'd used on it, and it's still working well for them. I know lots who use the Events Calendar because it's so robust. And like I said, VSETA, I did an article on it last year. If you want to look through it, just type that into the Elegant Themes blog, and you can read it. It is it is very robust, what it can do if it's what you need. That's one where it may or may not be, but it's something to at least look at and see. Um, Eva asked, in your opinion, is WooCommerce the go-to for selling online? I like WooCommerce a lot, because of the plugins. I'm also cheap. Like, let me be honest with you. I don't like paying for plugins until I absolutely know I need to pay for it, and then I don't mind. So I really like freemium software, and so I'll use WooCommerce a lot, just to be able to take payments for small things that I'm doing to set up like that. I also honestly, and I know that it's not WordPress based, but I don't care. I do like Shopify, and I know that y'all are going to start screaming at me now, so I'm just going to block right now. But I have had good luck on Shopify, and for my personal stuff, I've actually used Square. And that's because I've never used it for digital goods. I've used it for physical stuff, like when I go to festivals and I'm selling my books and things like that, where I use Square just to be able to swipe it, and I have my inventory set up, and it's very easy to do. So in terms of WordPress sites, I do still tend to go with WooCommerce, but Shopify has a lot going for it if you want a premium site to be able to go through. I've seen a lot of good stuff out of it, and I know for a fact, and I also think that if you're going to go with WooCommerce or WordPress specifically, that you should look into, depending on what your product is, but if you're doing digital stuff, look into Easy Digital Downloads. It has been really, really good too in the past on just getting new stuff going. Selling and giving digital content to people in kind of a drip fashion. And the reason I like Shopify so much is that, or not so much, I like them, is that recently I had a purchase of, it was a digital movie. It was a movie about the Barkley Marathons, actually. It's fantastic. It's called Where Dreams Go to Die. It's awesome. If you like ultra running, that kind of thing, y'all should watch it. And it's, when I bought it, it sent me a Shopify email with a certain number of downloads where I could download this video a certain number of times. And so I thought that was just an interesting product to be able to do that. So yeah, though that's my thoughts on it. I'm sure everybody has their own opinions on that one. So I want to so definitely I'll throw in throw in your opinions. I did just see Moon say that they've tried Bookly and some of the options aren't enough. If the options in Bookly aren't enough, Moon, then you really need to look at the events calendar and specifically look at their premium plugins, their premium offerings, because I really don't think you can get more robust than that. That if you can't do everything with the events calendar, along with like the events planner, I think that goes along with it in premium, it's hard. It'll be hard to find something else. It's super good. At the last WordCamp I was at, I know that I did a lot of research and sat with a lady who was setting up an events calendar website, actually a local event website, and that was what she ended up coming up with to be able to do that. So just being able to look at all the options there. And Dave said in the comments, for those of you who can't see it, that the Events Manager plugin is used, that he uses to organize events. So I need to check out Events Manager. I'm just going to open it up in another tab right now, and so I can look at it later. This is what you guys do to me. I'm almost as bad as LV, keeping different kinds of tabs open. So also, hi LV, I saw you there, so I had to take a shot at your tabs. See, I think people are going there. See, Uncle Social said he would never slate for anyone using Shopify. The convenience and outsourced security is totally worth the fees. Yeah, it can be. Like, it depends entirely on what you're doing. So yeah, moving forward after I take this drink, for anybody who has just joined in, we're now moving into the resources section of the This Week in WordPress list of fantastic articles that I've found this week where this is the stuff that I think is cool. The resources is always where I get to share the stuff that I just kind of want to tweet. This is the stuff that I think is neat, that I think you ought to know about, that you should probably open up in 1,000 different tabs like LV and just read over the weekend and see if this is something you can do. This isn't necessarily something that will it's not a how-to, like how to build an email list kind of thing, but this is the cool stuff that really, this is the critical thinking part that I just love. My English degree kicks in when I get to this part. It's like, ooh, thinky time. I'm so sorry. I don't know what that was, but anyway, the first thing under resources is a really cool article about why you would want to password protect your WordPress site. Not going into a lot of detail here because they do a really, really good job on that one, but it gives you a few ideas of when you may want to actually stop letting public access happen. And it actually does, if you're dealing with clients, this is a good way to kind of refresh yourself on how to deal with NDAs and privacy and security if you still need to get stuff back to clients where you need to share like different kinds of maybe an example. Let me see. It's hard to even say. They have an example of an inventor who was still applying for a patent and wanted to show investors this particular idea. And what they did was give a temporary password that lasted 24 hours after they signed an NDA using a WordPress site. So that kind of thing is possible. And it's just that kind of stuff. Just think about reasons that you might in the future need to password protect a site, even though you may not have to right now. Goodness knows I don't. I have no reason to password protect a site. But I was also thinking about actually, yeah, I do, because I was meeting with a client last week, and we were talking about this website, and I didn't want the live site to go up, so I honestly thought, I was like, I may just password protect it. That way nothing gets indexed by Google, even if I put the don't index, the discourage Google from indexing this. So it's there are reasons that you would want to. Also, to prevent Google from indexing the site. Anything like that would definitely be, because Google, if you didn't know this already, even if you have a site that is completely crawled by Google, if you add a password on it, Google can't crawl that because it no longer sees content. Whenever the crawler comes through and looks at it like a user, it doesn't have the password, so that's all it sees. So it doesn't actually crawl the content on that page, so you're safe. So nothing gets out that way. Now, obviously, you're going to have you're always going to have the content up there. You're going to have people who can hack it and get the password, but Google's crawlers cannot. I see a couple of comments on that one. Matthew Turner says that he's been suffering brute force attacks nonstop in the last 2 days. You need more than a password. Yeah, you do. A lot of it, you need. You really do need a firewall. You need a WAF. You need WordFence. You need all sorts of security stuff these days. WordPress is getting a lot more brute force stuff. I'm getting a lot of WordFence alerts that I'm getting brute force attacks that it's stopping. Heck, Akismet's getting a lot more spam. It's nuts these days. So yeah, you really do need more than a password, but there are reasons to do it, even though that's kind of minimum. It's kind of like the minimum viable product, the lowest common denominator there. So it's the low-hanging fruit in a lot of ways. And LV says, curious about what's in my big yellow drinking cup. And I promise that this is just water. That my Southern Fried Festival cup my wife brought back from a conference one time. And so I just have to drink. I drink so much water. It's insane. Like so much, it's nuts. I'm not a drinker anyway, so just water, and these days Crystal Light. I've been drinking a lot of Crystal Light, even though I know it's terrible for me, because LaCroix. I will say I've been drinking a lot of LaCroix lately because I'm that guy, and it is delicious. Tangerine LaCroix is my jam, y'all. So I know that there are probably 15 people watching this who are specifically judging me right now, and I feel you. I understand. So moving forward, the WPMU Dev also has an article that I thought was awesome, and I just wanted to call your attention to. Go read it. It's the idea of gamifying WordPress, the idea of giving bonuses to your visitors for coming back and logging in, that you can even give them monetary rewards and discounts. Like you can look at the Gap website as the example that they use that says that you get $20 that needs to be redeemed, but it's because you got a reward for logging in and that you are just a member, and the fact that you're just giving money off for having registered on your site, that's a good deal a lot. So like talking about user badges, and okay, y'all, so I've lived on the internet my entire life. And I used to be if you think I'm a big nerd now, you should have seen me in like 1999 when I was 16 in 99. So like right when message boards and the internet were just like right there, forums were a big thing then. Like there was no like real instant messaging. There was ICQ and AOL, and like it was just, the internet was a different place, if y'all remember it. And custom forum avatars were awesome, and they were absolutely crazy, and I loved them. And custom avatars and titles were my thing. And people still love this stuff, you guys, that if you have comments on your site that get a lot of them, you can give badges and things like that. You can give titles to people for commenting on your website and how they do stuff. People love this kind of thing still. And I got to admit that I'm still that way, that I make sure that I have an up-to-date gravatar so that when I comment places that it's not a picture of me from years ago, because I am that vain that I don't want to for people to see that. So yeah, so user badges, talking about gamifying WordPress, that you can even have a game in your website where game like website where, like Habitica, it talks about looking like an RPG inventory system as a to-do list. It's interesting. It's cool. I like Habitica. I actually need to do more of it. I think that kind of thing would help me also because I'm a nerd, and that is like what I do. Just stuff like that. Check it out. I really think that gamifying your website just a little bit will help you retain visitors, and not even so much retain, but get recurring visitors. And LV says that LaCroix sounds so fancy and European, and it does, but I think it's actually Canadian, and I think maybe I think it's Canadian. It's either Canadian or from Florida, and I know those are so different, but that's one thing I can't remember. And yeah, Uncle Social, it really is like XXX tilde uncle with an umlaut. Oh man, it is. Yep, that was 1999. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna call you Moose. I cannot pronounce that. I'm actually 35. I turned 35 in January this year. So I officially hit mid-30s, and so it was like, oh man, I'm an adult. so it was one of those. But yeah, so the internet being like half of my life on the internet like this, like looking back, like, man, message boards, right? So I've got like 5 minutes left on here. So just the last couple of things I wanted to talk about are at the very, very bottom of the resources list. And Jilt put out I love this article. It's about why pushing for a sale might cost you your business. And this is really what I have tried to get you guys, like, to get across to you over the months here, is that being a person, hold on, I'm gonna pause that for 1 second. I said hold on, like the microphone was what I'm holding on as I talk to the comments here. Uncle Social says that LaCroix is from probably LaCroix, Wisconsin, La Crosse, Wisconsin, and that's near Canada, but completely separate, and not Florida even a little bit. And so I'm just straight up wrong. So thank you, Unc. You're always there to put me in my place. So, but now going back, Jilt published a why pushing for the sale may cost you your business article. And what I like about it is that it's talking about how you don't want to be the hard sell. You do not want to just badger people to buy stuff. It's kind of like the pop-ups that we all hate so much. It's like, hey, subscribe to my email list. And then they go to a different page like, hey, subscribe to my email list now. And it's like, you don't want to do that. It's like the same thing. You don't want to buy something from someone who's like, hey, buy this. Although, in person it's different, but if I go to a store and I have a salesperson following me around, there's a really good chance that I'm not going to buy anything that day because they're trying too hard to get the sale. And what I want is customer service. I want help. I want you to solve this problem that I'm having. If it's my shirt has a hole in it, that's the problem I need solved. I don't want you to sell me a shirt. And so that's the approach that they take in this Jilt article on making sure that you are solving the problem that your visitors need and that you're providing a service for people who may not even be your customers. And I say that from experience here, especially the Elegant Themes here, because we put out so much content. Like Nathan put out a blog this morning saying that we were looking for community blogs, that we were looking for contributors to the blog. So go check that out. And he put in there that we've published over 2,000 blogs over the last 10 years since this blog has been going. And that's crazy. That also means that those 2,000 articles are continually talking to people who aren't our customers. They're not members. And I don't even like saying customers, that they're not members. They're not here. They're not using Divi. They just come and look at what articles we have sometimes. I mean, I published an article last year. One of my favorite ones I've ever written was a beginner's guide to Git and GitHub. And that's one of my favorite things. It has nothing to do with Elegant Themes, but I've talked to people and linked that to people to do that. I linked some of my articles about podcasting to my buddy who's starting a podcast this weekend. He's launching it. And it was my articles I wrote for Elegant Themes that basically kept me from having to rewrite all of this stuff about Libsyn and Blueberry and iTunes. And he's never going to use Divi. He's a video editor at a TV station. There is no way he's going to be using Divi because that is not something he does. But that kind of stuff is exactly why that content matters, is because those are the ones that get shared. That's the ones that people come in and then they see your product. So that's what they're talking about on Jilt, is that don't worry about selling things. Yeah, you have to have your sales sites. You have to have your sales funnel. You have to have all of this lead generation. You have to have all of that. But what you have to do, first of all, is treat these people like they're people. You have to solve their problem. You have to give them something that makes them know that you are worth doing business with. It's the same for you freelancers. It's the same for you guys who are working at agencies, that when you're getting clients, you are not trying to upsell them on different hosting packages. You're not trying to do anything. You are trying to work with them to get the website that they need, and then that will keep a long-term business partner, that they will be coming back to you. And that's what you want to do. I always come back to treating people like people. And that is so important when it comes to selling things online, because it's really easy for us to start, it's really easy for us to start just buying stuff from Amazon or trying to become an Amazon when there's no way that we can be, that just having a WooCommerce page isn't enough, that if you have content on that page that they want to, they'll see the WooCommerce page and see how awesome this other stuff is that you do. So it's something to really look into. And so before I go, there've been a couple of comments here. What are the best two latest WordPress themes? Honestly, I will say that I'm a big fan of Divi, and the other one that I use more than anything is honestly Ultimatum. Those are the two that I have. Those are the two that I have installed on more sites than anything. Divi is by far the one that I use. Actually, the three that I have more than anything are Divi, and it's like 90% of the stuff that I have now. Ultimatum is the one that I was using before Divi, and I still like it. It still does good stuff, but Divi, I think, runs cleaner. much more for me, at least. I still have friends who use it for all of their freelancing. And then I also like Astra. Astra has done me really well for a free theme. I've never used the paid pro version of it, but Astra really does have some cool stuff in terms of being able to customize your header and footer specifically. And it's a free one. You can actually get it on the WordPress repo. So those are the three that I tend to like the best. Muzz, sorry about that. But the ones I like the ones I like the best are Divi, Ultimatum, and then Astra. So LV in the comments here is talking about building a relationship. Divine Kiwi, that treating humans like humans is service. Like, that is the big thing. That's why I do everything that I can to reply to comments, to talk to you guys as much as I can, because you guys can watch it. This could be a really, really terribly boring stream. I told my mom about this stream, and she's not a techie. She doesn't use WordPress at all. And I'm like, you can watch this whenever you want. I don't think you're going to like the content because of what it is. And but the thing is, like, half the time, like, stuff, we talk about stuff that's not always tech here either. I mean, so it's stuff like, I see you guys as people. Like, honestly, I hand to God, I see you guys as people, not just names on the screen, and that's really important to me. I wouldn't be able to do this over and over if it weren't for that. And also, Dave, LaCroix is owned by National Beverage Group. Dave Doherty found this out. LaCroix is owned by the National Beverage Group, and they're out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. That's why I thought it was out of Florida. Thank you. I was like, I knew there was something. That would be why. But that's yep. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you for the vindication. I'm glad that you guys are. I'm glad that you guys are all people. I'm really glad that you love this stream, Matthew. That really does make me happy. Before I go, I do see Matthew Turner was talking about he could write blog entries on how to mess things up, figure out what the heck you did, and then fix them. Matthew, that would be awesome. That destructive learning that Uncle Social did, that's an absolutely fantastic idea. I'm not the one who goes over them, so I can't say anything at all, but check out the blog post. That is how I learned WordPress. That's how I got to the point where I am now, being able to work and write about it and know enough about it that it was absolutely it was absolutely by breaking my own websites. Y'all saw it today. I broke my website live today because I don't know what I did to the contact form. So I will learn what I did to fix it, and then I'll be able to tell you what I'd done wrong. So it's that. And don't worry about pronouncing my name. They struggle in RSA. They struggle to pronounce it. Only Zulus can pronounce it. All right. I'm just going to call you M or Muz or Maz. I will do my very best. That's and I have a hard time pronouncing a lot of things, and it's not even because of my accent, really. It's because I get tongue-tied a lot. So there's that. You guys, I really appreciate y'all coming and tuning in. I really, really do. I always have such a good time with y'all. It's been a fantastic Friday afternoon. I hope that your Friday goes by, the rest of it, the last few hours that you've got before you go off of work. I hope they're easy and chill. And I really, really hope that you have a fantastic weekend. And I will see you guys next Friday, I think. So, bye, y'all.